Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and your beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter, covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019. And we are continuing to move forward to yet another season together. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode. Today we are talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and them opting out of appearing at the NFL Scouting Combine. Of course, that means I myself will not be reporting live from the Combine as I've done in recent years. I think is there some value to what people say at the Combine? There wasn't much with the pass regime. I mean, if you ask the pass regime at the Combine, hey, Juwan Taylor come back? Sure. Arden Key come back? Sure. Calvin Ridley come back? Sure. And none of them did. I mean, even last year, James Gladstone was asked about trading Christian Kirk and kind of didn't shoot it down, but really answered around it. And they ended up doing just that. So the Jaguars, I think Gladstone said last year at the Combine when he spoke that it was his first time at the Combine since 2019. So that's how long the Rams haven't been doing the Combine. Liam Cohen has, spent a lot of his career with the Rams, hasn't been to a lot of Combines. James Gladstone hasn't been to a lot in recent years. It's the Rams kind of MO. They don't disrupt their workflow. They're obviously working on pro free agency, working with their pro scouts while also working through the draft process. It's not as if nobody is sent. They would still have representatives of the organization there. Work will still be done there. But it's largely been seen, at least from my vantage point, of why the Rams have done it and why I think the Jaguars might be doing it, is because there's no point in disrupting, your normal kind of base of operations for a week of watching workouts that you'll get the numbers anyways. You'll have video of it anyways. You'll have scouts there anyways. And then you'll ask, what about the interviews? I mean, the Jags didn't do in-person top 30 visits last year. I think the Jaguars would love for teams to not know about any players that they've interviewed this offseason for the draft. I think the Jaguars would think it's absolutely fantastic. So I think the Jaguars potentially could even find more value in that edge of teams not knowing than they could from those interviews. So, I mean, these guys are getting poked and prodded. Some of these interviews are early in the morning. They did do them last year. I heard of some that went really well. There was one player picked in the top, I'll say 8, that I heard. I obviously didn't pick him. Just had an absolutely brutal interview. Did that play a part in them deciding, not to pick him to decide Travis Hunter? It's not, I'll go ahead and say it's not Mason Graham. I don't think so, because I think they recognize the biases that go into these interviews and that you can leave with. So the real question is just how much do you value, these chats with these guys in person? And from what we can see from the Jaguars and not having top 30 in-person visits last year, not a lot of value. The natural question, of course, for some could be, okay, well then, why were the Jaguars at the Combine last year? They were. Liam spoke. Gladstone spoke. Combine podiums are always a little deranged because you get people from other markets asking questions. And I mean, I ask questions at other head coaches, podiums. I asked, obviously, Kevin O'Connell and I believe Matt LaFleur about Campanile and obviously Grant Udinski. But I remember last year somebody asked Liam about, if he had any reserves about hiring Shane Waldron after his year coordinating the Chicago Bears. And if looks could kill, man, Liam, he at the very least threw a pretty intense right hand. So I think, obviously moving forward, it's pretty clear to determine, where things kind of landed for the Jaguars last season. Last year, James Gladstone had literally just been hired. I want to say he had his introductory press conference the day before the combine started. It was either a day or two. So he had literally just got himself not even set up in Jacksonville, but he had just been introduced to the public as James Gladstone, the new general manager. So, of course, that was a part of it. Liam Cohen had put his finishing touches, on the coaching staff. I think that was a part of it because you look at both what Liam and James said last season about the combine, and it's clear that they got a lot of value out of the coaching staff, even, the front office staff being together, in Indianapolis for that time. Because they also made a point to say they're doing the same work there they would have done in Jacksonville. Which is why I think it's a big reason they're not there this year. They can just do the work in Jacksonville, not disrupt anything. No, I mean, Gladstone had to meet with the staff because it was just a couple weeks before free agency. They had to put together a plan. So last year, in my opinion, was just a complete unique set of circumstances. I think if Gladstone had gotten hired in like mid-January last year, I'm not even sure if they go to it then. So no, I don't think it's a significant deal or anything like that they're not there. I don't think that they're losing out on some edge. I mean, two different things. One, they're not the only team doing it. Several teams are not, having people speak. Andy Reid's not speaking. He's obviously done a lot of things right in his career. The Los Angeles Rams, is anybody going to say this process has hurt them? They didn't need to be at the combine to draft Puka Nacua. They didn't need to be at the combine to draft Jared Verse. They didn't need to be at the combine to draft Byron Young, Kyron Williams, Quentin Lake, any of these guys. I mean, if you want to stack up the Rams drafting since 2019 against the Jaguars since 2019, with the Jaguars being there every single year, I'd imagine the Rams come out on top by quite a bit. I don't think not being at the combine impacts them really in any way. The same way I thought not doing in-person top 30 visits really mattered at all. Everybody thinks that, this is a process where every single edge and ounce of information you can get, is better. There's such a thing as too much information. You're picking football players. You're picking guys who fit your franchise, fit your system, who fit your culture. They aren't becoming better football players because of how they do in an interview with you, on your turf, on your ground. They just aren't. So I don't think it's necessarily a big deal, again, that the Jaguars aren't going to be there. I think that, combine, a lot of times the value really can be that it's where deals get done for the offseason. But again, pick up a phone. I mean, it's not like you can't sign a guy to a deal because you're not at the combine. So you won't get my annual what I'm hearing at the combine story this week. I mean, this is, next week. That's obviously, it's unfortunate. That's an article I've always enjoyed doing. But I think at the end of the day, it's pretty clear where the Jaguars think their edges in the draft should be. And that the combine isn't one of them. So it's new. It's definitely new. It's not something the Jaguars have done before. But, there's been a lot of people up in arms and a lot of rankings about the Jaguars draft class last season. And they went to the combine last year. If you're down in their class last year, why do you want them at the combine? So I think it is the ultimate much ado about nothing. I think the Jaguars, with their 11 picks, have the potential to do some big things this offseason, regardless of whether or not they're at Lucas Oil Stadium next week.